in 1998, I judged Collie specialty at the Collie Club of New South Wales in Australia. And I got the phone call in October of '87, and I got this call, and they would like to have me judge their show the following year. They have 2 shows a year. There's, of course, the seasons are reversed in Australia. You know, yes. October is spring. Mm-hmm. So at their spring show, they bring judges from overseas or out, not from down there, from down under. And at the other show, they more or less have local judges. So they wanted me to come, and they said, well, how long can you stay? We'll talk about an open-ended question. And, you know, how do you answer that? I said, well, however long you want me. Mm-hmm. So I was there for 21 days. Mm-hmm. I stayed with 3 different families. It was in the Sydney area, and I flew in. The shows were on the weekend. In fact, they were originally going to have the whole show in one day, but we had a big entry, and they have rules too about how many dogs you can judge.
What was the entry? Do you remember?
Oh, it's got here, I guess. I don't remember. I maybe have listed or what it was, but anyway. So their equivalent of the AKC said, you know, they had to have 2-day show. And they their shows are outdoors, and the clubs own their own showgrounds. And so it's like a park like this. Well, not quite this big, but the one we were at, I think it was called St. Ives or whatever it was. Anyway, I stayed with you have to get there a couple days early because of the jet lag. I mean, you were on that plane a long time. And anyway, I stayed with this family. We went to the 2 shows, and then I was invited to a English tea with some Sheltie breeder and her daughter. And then I went to another family, and then the last place I stayed was with a Gay Jones, and she had been a professional ballroom dancer at one time. And she had a daughter in high school age that had an all-girls band, and they were amateur theater actresses. So they were in the play of the movie that Marilyn Monroe is, Some Like 'Em Hot. The stage play. They had an amateur production, and I went to their dress rehearsal. I had to go home before they got the finals, but I had a wonderful time, and went all these different places in the Sydney area and to an Albury show. And before I went, I had gone to a judge's seminar thing up in Seattle, and Janet Wilcox and I forget, another judge they had judged down there. So I was talking to Janet. She said, you know, the dogs are different than ours, and you just have to basically make allowances for this or whatever. So I didn't know what I was going to get into when I got down there. And so, but I was pleasantly surprised. At their specialty shows then, you had to place 7 dogs, not just 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, try it.
In every class.
At every class. And so, wow. Sometimes it's a struggle to get 4, let alone 7. Anyway, so, and I had these are pictures of the dogs. This was my best of breed. Oh, one of the things that I think AKC should consider, they would pick they didn't pick a best of breed, they picked a best of breed and a best opposite. They don't do that. They pick a best of and runner-up. Oh, so it can be the same sex. Mm-hmm. And I strongly approve of that. The reason is, I'll give you an example. I judged an ASCA show, an Australian Shepherd Club of America show. It's been about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And in my specials class, I had 3 bitches. A tricolor, a blue, and a red merle. Those bitches could have been litter mates painted a different color. They were that much alike. They were gorgeous, just simply gorgeous. So I had to pick. I picked. And then I had to put some male that wasn't anywhere near what these three bitches were for best opposite. I had to turn away. These were much better. I strongly feel about that. I think there should be a runner-up, not a best. I mean, it should be the best dogs. Isn't that what we're after? I mean, that you can still have your winner's dog and your winner's bitch, but you don't, and then
Your best of winners.
and your best of winners. Or in the old days, that they didn't have a best of winners. You started. I don't think we did. We went right in with both of them into the.
Right.
We picked.
And that's when they chose
No, wait,
the best
we
of
picked the
winners.
best of winners outside. Yeah, they didn't both go in. So, I mean, they were both really nice dogs. And the funny thing about it is, remember, I had never seen any of these people or any of these dogs in my life, and I ended up my rough collies were all related, except for the blue bitch that I put up, and she had come from New Zealand, and it was her first show in Australia, and I gave her the winner's bitch. And then in Smooth, let me tell you, it was like he's his own grandma. They were so closely related. And so anyway, yes, that was.
How did they compare in quality to the?
Well, you can look at the
dog?
pictures.
But talk to the camera on that.
Oh well.
Was it similar, or did you see a lot of differences?
In some ways, I suppose. And I did like I was in a lot. One funny thing. When I stayed with the first people that I stayed with, who was I came a couple of days early because you have to get over the jet lag. And so I was at their house, and they had a print shop, and so they were at work. And so and they had a condominium on a bay out of Sydney. And there was a bay out here, and bobbing around in the bay were sailboats, one of which was theirs. But anyway, so I was looking through a bunch of magazines, and their dog magazines were like Old Dog News and Dog World. The pictures were about this big, I mean, you know. And so I saw this blue dog, and I thought, that's a pretty good looking blue Smooth. So when they came home, I said, this is a good looking dog. Well, she said, they're way down in Melbourne, they don't usually come up. So anyway, lo and behold, he did, and that was my best Smooth.
Oh.
Yes, it was they had celebrated their centennial, and we took the ferry across Sydney Harbour, and as we were on the ferry going one way, the flagship of the British Navy was with all the sailors lined up along the side of the boat, you know, and their uniforms and everything. We sailed by, and their flags are flying and all that. It was fun. Oh, I had a grand time, I'll tell you. And
Well, is there
and
any...
I just did. We didn't go on any tours. We went places, and we went to an all-breed show in what they call the Southern Highlands, which was south of Sydney. And if you saw the movie Babe about the pig that hurt, well, that's where it was made.
Oh, that's a pretty picture.
That was my reserve challenge dog.
I'll show that one. I think that's very interesting. You have a note that he was the top winning
He was the top
Collie
winning.
ever in Australia. See if that'll show on the camera.